Hey everyone, thanks for coming. My name, as Andrew said, is Lincoln Baxter. This is George Gastaldi, and we are the Forge team at JavaOne. So today we're going to show you the tool we work on, which is JBoss Forge. And the reason we built this tool is because we think that developing Java EE applications should be fun, it should be productive, and you should be able to benefit from all of the same things that people working in other languages and other quote-unquote rapid frameworks get the benefit of. And we'll show you what it is. It's a rapid application development tool. It's a scaffolding-like framework. It's also an incremental project enhancement tool. So you can take an existing project and easily add functionality to it. You can add testing frameworks, security frameworks. And the way we do that is we present you a very nice interface that lets you consume the tool in the fashion that you're most comfortable with. So if you prefer wizards and GUIs, you can use a graphical interface. If you prefer command lines and scripts, you can write scripts to use the tool. And we're really just going to get started with a demo. George is going to talk while I type on the computer, and we'll see what we got.
Okay, so let's get started with the demo. We're using Eclipse for the demo. We can use any user interface that you may like you can use the shell if you want. Right now, we start by creating a new project. So you just type project new, name it conference rating, and we do have this project. Let's start with the top-down methodology. Let's start by creating some JPA entities. How about creating an entity named session? This is very easy with Forge. You can create the JPA entities right from the newly created project without setting up JPA initially.
Yeah, so this application is going to be a conference rating tool. So we're going to be able to put in sessions and then have attendees rate and give rankings to how they thought we did.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a JPA entity. We just create an entity named session. We still don't have the database table created yet. So let's add a new field to this JPA entity. Let's call it like title. Adding a field to a JPA entity is as easy as creating a new attribute in your class. However, Forge makes it easier by, in spite of putting the attribute, it generates the getters and setters and also updates your toString method automatically, including the equals and the hash code methods.
Yeah, so this session has a title now, and we probably also want a description so that we can maybe put the abstract in here, let people know what the session is going to be about. I'm actually pressing Command 4 here. This is the Forge hotkey in Eclipse. In IntelliJ, the command is Command Shift 4. And this menu is designed to just bring all of the functionality to your fingertips so you can quickly filter and sort on what you want.
The same commands that you see in the shell are available in the pop-up menu. So you're free to use whatever user interface you might like. So right now we created a description attribute. How about creating a new entity? Attendee rating, please. Okay, so let's add a couple of fields on it, a couple of attributes, like a name. Okay, how about a rating attribute?
So one of the things that Forge provides, generating JPA entities is sort of a trivial operation, but we try to present all of the options for configuring things like column length, constraints, data types here in this menu so that you can easily figure that out without having to remember exactly how to annotate your fields. So we have some basic data types that you can choose from here, including other entities if you want to generate a relationship. But for the rating, we're just going to go with an integer. And once we have that, let's actually go ahead and add a bean validation constraint. So this rating should be within 0 and 10 probably, because we don't want to have ratings up to like 4 million. It would just completely skew off all the numbers. So again, we're going to bring up the Forge menu here. And then we'll go with constraint, add. And Forge is saying, hey, I noticed you don't have the bean validation specification set up. So let me go ahead and walk you through the setup process. I'll handle setting up the configuration files. I'll add the dependencies for you. And then once we've done that, we choose which class we want to add the constraint to. This is going to be the attendee rating. And we're going to add this to the rating property. The constraint will be, yeah, sure, decimal max. And then we click next. The value will be 10 as the maximum. And our message
All right. So you can see that the bean validation annotation was just added. And now we're ready to scaffold the application. As you can see, the validation jars were added to the POM XML. So let's scaffold this application. Let's create a web UI user interface for it. Let's generate it based on Java server faces in the first moment.
like standards.
Yeah.
So again, Forge is saying we don't have all of the configuration necessary to generate a user interface for you. So it says, okay, we need CDI, we need AGB for transactions, and we need servlets so we can actually host the thing. And then, of course, Java server faces. You can pick the version you want. So we click next, and then we select the entities we would like to generate the interface for, and click finish.
All right. So now we should have our application completed. Right now we have the beans that were created for the JSF pages. We have the XHTML files for each use case, for each entity. So let's get this running in a Java EE application server. We're using Wildfly for this demo, but we could use WebLogic or any other application server. Okay. And there you go. The application is running. Let's
say we wanted to actually have a mobile-friendly application. So JSF is good for the browser, but what if we wanted to push this out to a phone application? Here we can enter our attendees, but let's go ahead and add some REST endpoints so we can wire that into a mobile tool.
Yeah. So now we'll generate some REST endpoints on our current entities. As you can see, our project wasn't configured to use JAX REST at the moment, so we just configured it in the previous screen, and now, yeah, now we chose to. So we select the entities to be generated. We'll expose. We can choose how are we going to expose the data. If we want to expose the JPA entities directly in our REST endpoints, that's fine. But we can choose to generate some DTOs just to expose the data that we really want, we really need. So Forge generates these data objects and the endpoints.
And as you can see, the endpoint that it generated is supporting the same basic functionality for create, read, update, delete, just to get you started. It's not going to put business logic in for you. That would be up to you to take this and then move it to the next level where you have actual functionality beyond just data modification. But now that we have this, let's go ahead and redeploy. and we'll enter in some data in our JSF front end, and then see that show up in the endpoints.
Okay, let's start by creating a new session. There you go. Let's create a new rating. So this is the beam validation taking place. Like we chose that the maximum should be 10, and then entering an invalid value presents you with the error message. And there you go. Yeah. And what if I want to access this data using REST endpoints, my REST endpoints? You just change it to REST, and you use the entity that you want. So you get it.
Yeah. So let's say now, this is an example of top-down. So we had a use case, we built our data model to represent that, and then we generated the interface. What if we had an old legacy application from a really archaic database? It's really complicated, and we want to build an interface for that, maybe to like get people off the mainframe onto the web or onto something mobile. Let's take a look at an example of that.
Sure. Yeah. Now we'll make an example of using bottom-up methodology that is from a new project. We'll generate the JPA entities based on an existing legacy database, and
sorry. In this case, let's pick something crazy. I'm going to actually reverse engineer my MySQL admin table, so that the database that MySQL uses to manage itself. I'm going to reverse engineer that and then build a UI so that we can go in and modify MySQL's internal data.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, we need to set up JPA in our project. We need to just configure the data source that will be used, as well as the database type that we're working with. So
there's the data source that I've already set up in my Wildfly server here called MySQL admin. So let's go ahead and use that.
And there's another thing that we don't want the application to mess with the schema. We don't want it to drop the tables, so we just put none. All right. Okay, so now we're set to generate the entities. We can choose a connection profile that's bound to the MySQL database. You can see all the tables that this user can access. Let's remove some tables like event. All right. All right, pressing finish, refresh. You can see the JPA entities. And now we can scaffold. And let's do AngularJS this time. Just
yeah, let's make this like a mobile administrative interface. So your DB admin really wants to be able to do stuff while he's on his bicycle, in traffic, changing values in the database. He's really hardcore about it. So let's go ahead and use Angular. And in this case, it's going to give us, the same sort of prompt here. We don't have CDI set up. We don't have the JAX-RS specification set up to do REST. So it's going to ask us how we want that done. It's going to ask us where we want to put these classes. And then once we click Next, we can select the tables that we want to actually generate the user interface for. And these are all the top-level entities, so none of the embedded subtypes that would not actually be valid for generating a user interface from.
So, no. Yeah. So as we're dealing with an AngularJS application, we will ask Forge to generate the REST resource right from this scaffold screen. So pressing finish, it will generate it it will generate not only the REST endpoints, but also it will set up the technologies that we chose. And yeah, here you can see the endpoints.
Yeah, so here are the endpoints, and then we also have the AngularJS resources set up. We've got the views for this. Oops. And this is the Angular code to present all of this information.
Okay, looks like we're all set. So let's run this application and see how it looks like. There you go. You can see that the UI is responsive according to the resolution that you use. It's working with real data from the MySQL database. And I think that's it.
Yeah. So that's a quick overview of what Forge does and what it can do for all of us. Does anyone have any questions before we draw for the Raspberry Pi? The question is, what's the deployment model for Forge? And the answer is that Forge is available. Actually, I'll just take you over to the website here. It's available as a standalone download. If you want to use it on your operating system terminal. So for example, I have Forge running here in my console with all of the same commands that are accessible with via Eclipse. Or you can get it as part of the IDE. That'd be a plugin for Eclipse as part of JBoss Tools. Or you can actually just get JBoss Developer Studio 8, and that has Forge 2 already built into it. We also have a plugin for IntelliJ, and we're trying to work on NetBeans, but we haven't been able to get together with them yet. Cool. Thank you, guys. Let's see who gets the Raspberry Pi.